Hello BookTube. Today is Tag Tuesday, and for this Tag Tuesday, I will be doing two tags that relate to BookTube. The BookTube Journey Tag and the What Are You Known For tag. I am drawing on Steve Donoghue's videos for the questions to these two tags. The BookTube Journey Tag was created by Books and Things, and What Are You Known For was created by Big Al Does BookTube. I will leave links to both creators' channels in the show notes down below, as well as a link to Steve Donoghue's video or channel in the show notes. And I will also leave a copy of both questions in the show notes as well. And of course, if you'd like to do these tags, consider yourselves tagged. Question number 1. How long have you been watching BookTube? I started watching BookTube in 2016. I might have actually started a bit earlier with the science fiction and fantasy side of BookTube, but I don't quite remember when I started watching SSF 180 and the other science fiction and fantasy booktubers. I know for sure I was watching BookTube by 2016. Question number 2, how long have you been making BookTube videos? I started made my first video in September of 2019, so almost 5 years. Question number 3, what made you start making videos? I'm lonely and I wanted somebody to talk to, and I thought making videos and talking about books would help with that loneliness. Watching the conversation on BookTube made me want to join in. Question number 4. Are there any people who have played a significant role in your BookTube journey? Primarily Steve Donoghue. Steve was the booktuber who really got me thinking, I can actually do this. That I don't need to be super professional or super edited or even moderately professional or edited to do this. I just need to turn on my computer, bring up the webcam, and just start talking. Question number 5. What kind of books do you like to read? So currently, most of what I've been reading are manga, Japanese comics, and poetry. I've not had as much success with fiction or with history. I think there's another tag that looks at like how my reading's gone that I want to get to, and I'll talk a lot more about that then. But so far I've read almost 120 books, give or take, and the vast majority of that are manga. Question number 6. How has that changed since you started BookTube? So when I started BookTube, my intention was to focus on science fiction and fantasy, which at the time was my favorite genre and had been my favorite genre of fiction for 20 years. But at the end of 2019, something happened, and I lost interest in science fiction and fantasy to the point where I can watch one of SFF 180's mailbags and not be interested in anything he pulls. Gradually over the course of 2020, I started to find myself gravitating more towards nonfiction, primarily history. And for several years, history became the dominant genre that I read. Although, to be honest, I think manga also started playing an increased role in my reading as well. although I think manga has, over the last year or two, really begun to supplant history, to the point where last year and this year, most of my reading has been manga, and I just really didn't notice it until I was looking at the list, and I'm like, oh my, I'm reading tons of manga. And my interest in history has started to wane over the last few months. Question number 7. What kind of videos do you most like to make? I like to make book hauls and tag videos. Although I also like talking about my library, because I've always have ideas on how I want to structure my library. I really want to get around to adding a few more bookcases, so I can basically have this wall over here covered, because it's kind of annoying that it's not. But anyway, I'll get to it eventually. Also, I like to talk about the different parts of my library, even if those parts are no longer as interesting as they had been, like the science fiction fantasy collection, or I'm not entirely sure what to make of, like my classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama section, which I really have got to come up with a better name, but I haven't yet. Question number 8. How has that changed since you started BookTube? Do you think your video making style has changed over time? I think generally it's been pretty consistent. I like making tag videos. I like doing book hauls. I try to make discussion videos, although those usually don't quite work out. And my video making style hasn't largely changed. It's been pretty consistent since I started. Question number 9. Do you script and or edit your videos? And has that changed over time? I don't script or edit. I don't know how to edit. What I do is I will sometimes, particularly with weekly reads, which is my weekly recap of what I've read over the previous week, and looking forward to what I'll be reading the forthcoming week. I will kind of talk over it to myself before I make that video to sort of get an idea of where I'm going to go with it, and also try to do that with the discussion videos I want to make. Although, again, what I say when I'm sort of doing this preparatory talking to myself doesn't necessarily mean that it'll translate to what appears on camera, or how I will do it when I'm making the video. Which can sometimes lead to, particularly in the case of discussion videos, even though it feels like I know where I'm going to go with a topic, that it just, when I'm making the video, it does not work. Question number 10. What's the most viewed video on your channel? I have no idea. Question number 11. What's your favorite video you've ever made? Oh, I don't know. No single video really stands out for me. Question number 12. Do you have a favorite book you read because of BookTube? I don't. There are a number of books that I've seen on hauls that I guess maybe could count, but I don't know if they would really count as favorites, because I think in order to be a favorite, you have to have read it at least twice. And I haven't really read many of the books, or I don't think I've read any book that I've picked up because I've seen it hauled on BookTube or discussed on BookTube more than once. So I don't think so. Question number 13. Do you have a favorite BookTube experience to tell us about? No. Question number 14. What does your book collection look like? So this is actually one of my favorite questions or my favorite topics to talk about. So I currently have almost 1,700 books in my collection. Admittedly, 190 of those books I would like to send on to new homes. It's just taken me far longer than I anticipated to send those books out, and they are currently boxed up. So I have my library broken up into sections. Behind me is the history section, which bleeds over into or onto my headboard bookcase. Above it is the general nonfiction and genre fiction, because I don't have much nonfiction that isn't history, and I have very little genre fiction that's not science fiction and fantasy. Over to my left, which I think might be your right, I don't know, I have a science fiction and fantasy collection that is in the process of downsizing. I would like to downsize it to just one bookcase. Right now it's a double-sided bookcase and a cobbled together bookcase that I eventually want to replace with one or two more professionally done bookcases. No aspersions against my brother, but that bookcase could have been done better. And then across from me is the manga wall, which for a long time was the history wall, but I'd been over the past few months flip-flopping between whether I wanted this wall behind me or the other wall to be history or manga. So currently this wall is history and that wall is manga, and I think that's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future. And if once the manga wall pretty much fills out, probably part of my idea for downsizing the science fiction and fantasy side of my collection is to add more manga there on those, what would be those replacing bookcases. Out in the hall, I have two bookcases. That's where I keep my classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama. Again, I really need a better name for that. I guess the hall annex, but that's not really descriptive of what's in the bookcase, it's just where it is. And then out in the hall, I have, or not out in the hall, in the living room, I have my cookbook collection, which I have a small cookbook collection. Or maybe not so small. It's about 2 shelves. Question number 15. What advice would you give to new people starting a BookTube channel? Just go with it and don't really sweat it, and try not to be too structured. Just enjoy the experience, just enjoy the conversation, and just be you. And question 16, or in this case it would be a prompt, tag some people. So again, if you'd like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. So that was the BookTube Journey Tag. Now on to the What Are You Known For tag, which will have some questions that were quite similar to the BookTube Journey Tag. So I'll kind of gloss over those. So, question number 1. What do you want your channel to be known for? Right now, I don't know. I initially intended my channel to be mostly known for science fiction and fantasy, but really, for most of my time on BookTube, my reading has been chaos. I've been trying to figure out what my reading is going to be, but it's been quite chaotic. So I don't know what my channel is known for or what I would want it to be known for. I don't know. Question number 2. What content will people find on your channel? Bookish discussion about currently manga, history, poetry, although I stink at talking about poetry. Occasionally me trying to force myself into liking contemporary literary fiction, both in English as well as in translation. Occasionally extending that into more canonical works or proto-canonical works, which at some point there's going to be a video about a possible, maybe I don't know, Great American Novel Project that I need to actually figure out what I want to do. That video has, that video is, it's plaguing me. I have got to figure out a way to get it out of my system. But anyway, occasionally if you go back, would be more science fiction and fantasy in my earliest videos, and other things as well. Question number 2. What content will people... Wait, no, that already answered that. Okay. I really need to get me some new glasses at some point. Question number 3. What is the most represented genre of books? I have not gone back and done a sort of a count of what I've read over my time on BookTube. I have kept a list of the books I've read, but I don't particularly want to go back and sort of crunch the numbers. When I first started, it would have been mostly science fiction and fantasy. Gradually through most of 2020, I think it would have been a history with manga starting to make an appearance towards the end of 2020. And in 2021 and probably 2022, still mostly history, with manga not as prominent as it would be in 2023 and certainly 2024. I think that's how it works, but we shall see. Question number 4. What book are you known for championing? It's not a book necessarily, but I think I would be known for championing Fairy Tail by Hiro Mishima. It is one of my favorite manga series, and it's one of the series that got me into manga way back when I first got into manga in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and again in 2020, when I just noticed that the first 17 volumes were available on Kindle Unlimited, and I read them, and I just had a blast, and I'm like, I want to get back into manga. And I have since added hundreds of manga volumes. See, I would think it would be Fairy Tail. Possibly also Big Wonderful Thing, A History of Texas by Stephen Harrigan. It's a big, fat history of Texas with a rather comedic point of view. Also, any history that's ancient Near East, mainly the work of Amanda H. Padani. Her Weaver, Scraps, and Kings is amazing. Her Brotherhood of Kings is also really good. Yeah, so I think those would be the ones I would champion. Question number 5. What author is regularly featured on your channel? Well, I mean, of course, Hiro Mishima, the author of Fairy Tail, would be heavily featured. Agatha Christie, I think, might be, although she hasn't been mentioned all that often in the last year or so, because I've largely fallen out with her, and I really don't have much interest in reading her work right now. I think that'd be about it. Question number 6. What can people expect in the future? Well, at some point, hopefully, I will make a video about the Great American Novel. Whether it's just a recap of what several other booktubers have already said about the Great American Novel, or if it's me, I want to try to make it about me grappling with whether or not I want to do a reading project in which I reread and read works, novels that have been called the Great American Novel, or candidates to be the Great American Novel. But I don't think I have exactly figured out what I want to do. I haven't really decided. I think maybe what I ought to do is go ahead and just compile the list of candidates and then maybe decide at some point. I just need to figure that out. There's also at some point when I do get a new bookcase over here where I will do an introduction to it. There was going to be a few book hauls coming in. I went a bit nuts over the weekend for that. Otherwise, I don't really plan my videos out. It's just whatever's, like, say, tag videos. It's whatever tag videos are coming around. Or book hauls. It's like when the books come in. Because I have book hauls coming in. What else? And then like whatever sort of bookish issue is plaguing me at any given time. Like right now it's the Great American Novel, but also the question of am I well read, and does that bother me? Does my answer to that question bother me, and should it? And something else. Okay, and finally, question number 7, or prompt number 7 is tag people and state what you know them for. So, again, if you'd like to do this tag, consider yourselves tagged. Anyway, that was the BookTube Journey Tag and the What Are You Known For tag. Again, I will leave links to the creators as well as Steve Donoghue in the show notes and copies of the questions. So tomorrow, I might try to do that Great American Novel tag, or not tag. Has anybody made a tag about the Great American Novel? I don't know. Anyway, so it'll probably be either, I'll try to make that, or I might also make a video about manga. Because I do need to figure out what I want to do, like how I want to organize my manga shelf. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign up for now and think about it, and I will see you hopefully tomorrow. And if you don't see me tomorrow, then probably whatever video it was I wanted to make did not quite work out. So until I see you next time, BookTube, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.